Hello, welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. What's going on, Bears fans? It has been a busy day. And we know where Nick wants to start the show. He wants to have a full breakdown of the Bears' new wide receiver from the University of Iowa.
Who wrote that? I never even update the board. Usually it's the wrong date, but man, yeah, another Iowa Hawkeyes on the roster there, Adam. Apparently, according to the whiteboard.
Well, anyway, no, actually, of all the things that happened today, I like that pickup from the Bears, Amir Smith-Marset joining the team. But that is way down the list of priorities today. We have a general manager conversation. We have the assistant general manager, Ian Cunningham, meeting the media for the first time. Topics from what was discussed, more bonus discussion afterwards because Ryan Poles then joined Adam Johns and myself on the Hogan Johns podcast for about 20 minutes, and there was even more that came out of that conversation. And so I encourage you to listen to that. Please wait to the end of this show, and then you can go listen to the Ryan Poles conversation on Hogan Johns. We're going to discuss some of that here as well. And a new wide receiver. Oh, and just brand new stadium news that's popping up as well. So plenty to get to here in the next hour with a little nighttime show for you as there's football on my screen, which I managed to miraculously get going here right as we started the show. We were having some issues, and then right as our producer Joey hit the start button on the show, all of a sudden it appeared. So that's just a gift from the football gods, I think.
What game do you got on there, Adam?
Oh, we got Pitt and West Virginia, the backyard brawl, back in action, which I don't know why they ever stopped it, but it's back, which is good. And then I'm going to have to go Big Ten, though, once we get to 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because we do have Penn State, Purdue tonight.
Yeah, so that's a good game to watch. I'll be watching that one later. I had the West Virginia Pitt game on my monitor here, but you got to watch that bandwidth a little bit. Obviously, the podcast is running, so I'll stick to just engaging in the podcast because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's nice. We're going to engage a little bit. We understand people are probably at home with football game on TV, and hopefully you have that muted and this turned up so you can pay attention on the second screen to what went on with the Bears today. And please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, the notifications, as we try to stay consistent for you with the show times, but news happens, and like today, now all of a sudden it's a 6:30 show. So thanks for hanging with us here. Adam Hogan, Nicholas Moriano. Let's dive in. So Ryan Poles meeting the media for technically the third time since training camp opened, but that second time was an impromptu press conference at Soldier Field when only a couple questions were able to be asked and answered. They were all about Roquan. So this was really the first time we've heard from the GM about his team since training camp started, and there's a lot that has happened. I guess just to check off the box with Roquan Smith, because not surprisingly, that was the first topic that came up. But he seems to be on the same page as Roquan Smith at this point, that Roquan's on the field, the contract's not getting discussed right now, and it's all about ball, as Ryan put it today.
Yeah, and he seemed really optimistic, though, Adam, about being able to repair the relationship moving forward. He expects Roquan to have a big season, and that, like everybody, you get into disagreements and you find ways to resolve those disagreements, right? But he seemed pretty optimistic about being able to do that. But like you said, that's behind him. He didn't want to get into the contract discussions or, how the language that Roquan used when he did speak to the media for the first time after releasing his message on Twitter. So that's behind them. They're focused on the season, but he does seem optimistic that they can repair what has kind of been, a little bit in shambles over the past a month now.
Yeah, one of the many reasons why you use an agent in these situations, because contracts can be tricky. And I think that Roquan Smith's probably learning that. Best thing he can do, best thing that the Bears can have happen is just to have him go out there and have a big season and then address this in the offseason. And maybe if Roquan balls out, And it looks like that's worth paying a guy in this defense that amount of money. I will share a little note from our conversation on Hogan Johns because this briefly came up, and it was more about the idea of paying a top will linebacker in this defense and how much that is a priority for Ryan Poles. And he said, he's like, in this defense that we play, it is very important. So, but so is corner, so is defensive end, pass rusher, but it's still an important spot. And as we've talked about before on this show, the Bears have a history of, they went through this with Lance Briggs, and they didn't regret paying Lance Briggs. Pretty damn good football player. So I think that in the end, you'd like to see both sides come together. I just think that they've moved on for now, and we'll see how the season plays out. All right, Teven Jenkins. I think the headline here is that they did finally have a conversation. That the sort of the odd comments that we heard from Teven the other day, not that the comments themselves were odd, just the fact that he still felt like he wasn't secure on this team after everything he's done in the last couple of weeks. That was surprising to hear from him. It still felt like he was on the bubble, even though he seemingly had won the starting right guard job. And so we heard from Ryan Poles today, and he said that they had a chance to talk it out, and he praised Teven for how he's handled it. He said, no, I had a good conversation with them, and I told him how proud I was of him. Again, I think it's about building the best five. I think we have a good five with him at guard, so I think it's good for us to have Teven at guard right now. Nick, your reaction?
I think that's what we were seeing on the field, him taking all the first team reps at that right guard position. That's what it felt like, that he was your starting right guard, and there was no question about it. There's no one really in back of him that you would see the Bears feeling comfortable with. I think when the Alex Leatherwood, when they claimed him, you're like, oh, is there something that could be there? But just kind of hearing Ryan Poles praise Teven Jenkins, and also Ian Cunningham also adding and mentioning the resiliency that he's seen from Teven Jenkins, that just solidifies what they think about him. And obviously, on your guys' podcast, you kind of squash the trade rumors about Teven Jenkins. If you want to, also tell the listeners about that, Adam.
Yeah, and again, I encourage you to listen to it after the show. But I basically just asked Ryan. It's been a crazy training camp for Teven Jenkins, and he went from an afterthought who's hurt. We don't even see him out there on the practice field to now he's your starting right guard. What happened? And that's how I phrased it. And he was the one who right away was like, yeah, I mean, the guy missed a couple days, and now all of a sudden there's trade rumors. And he said, I never called anybody. So Ryan Poles right there saying, he never called teams to shop Teven Jenkins, but he also said that when something like that's going on, you start getting phone calls from other teams that are wondering what's happening. And so I'm guessing that is how it somehow made its way into, which I think was the original NFL Network report, that the Bears, but they worded it technically accurately. The Bears were taking calls. I think that can be sometimes misleading, though. The Bears are picking up the telephone. It's different than the Bears are. When you say a team is taking calls on a guy, it's like it's still an indication that they're trying to shop him, that they're open for business on a guy. When it certainly sounds like what Ryan Poles cleared up today with us was just, no, I mean, we weren't trying to move him. People were calling, and that was it. And I think that there's a distinction there that needs to be made. And then he also, what I thought was significant, admitted that when he talked to Teven Jenkins, he admitted that his communication probably could have been better throughout that process. And so now let's see what Teven Jenkins does with the opportunity. I think that squashes the trade rumors for now. And now he's the right guard. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and he's been really open in the open locker rooms. Like when people have asked him to speak, he's pretty forthcoming and has spoken to reporters about it. And that's where he kind of has talked about like finding a home. And now maybe after having this conversation, he does feel like that. Chicago is at home at the right guard position, and that's the best, for him, for the Bears moving forward. So now hopefully he can get that behind him. all the things that have happened throughout, the last couple of months for him. You can put that behind him, focus on playing right guard and getting ready for the San Francisco 49ers in week 1.
And I got to say, Nick, if he stays healthy, and that's still a question mark, I think, how that back is going to hold up once you get to game action here, regular season. But I think he's going to play pretty well, to be honest with you. It's maybe I'm putting too much stock in just some preseason reps, but there's a different guy that we've seen in these preseason games at a different position. And that's why I think it carries weight. And he talked about it the other day. Like, he just feels more comfortable in a phone booth where things happen a little faster, but you're not out on an island on the edge. And I think that fits his physical mentality. And I don't see any reason why it's not going to continue week 1, other than the fact that that granted the competition is going to be a step up and the game's going to be moving even faster. But I think he's going to rise to the occasion and play pretty well.
Yeah, the game's going to be moving faster, obviously facing a really good opponent, but he's also getting more time at the right guard position. He's still very new to this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as he continues learning and feeling more comfortable, and again, if his back is fine, I'm with you, Adam. There's no reason why Teven Jenkins can't excel here. He was a second round draft pick for a reason. The Bears, the last regime, moved up to go get him. They saw something in him. So just having continuity, I think, is going to be big for Teven Jenkins, and also just having that his mindset ease that this is his place now. I think that can go a long way for Teven Jenkins.
All right. Meanwhile, different offensive lineman, the newcomer, first time we had a chance to see him out there at practice today, Alex Leatherwood, the former first-round pick. When I say former, last year. You don't pick up guys like this via waivers very often after just 1 year. And the Bears are – I think it was clear to me today, and I like this approach, that they picked up a developmental project. Like, this is their next offensive line project. They had Braxton Jones, they had Larry Borum, they had Teven Jenkins. They've seen good results at this point. So here's the next guy that they're bringing in to work with, the next young talent. But I think they're going to do the opposite of what the Raiders did. They rushed them. Mm-hmm. And I think the Bears are going to keep them on. They got to keep them on the 53, unless, they think that they can have, waive them and clear them and get them on the practice squad. But the guy's most likely going to be on the 53, but stashed there for now while they get him up to speed on the offense, figure out where he's best suited. They did not commit to that today, guard or tackle. They're probably going to try him at both and see what happens. Maybe they start at tackle, move him inside the guard a little bit, but perhaps over time, he can show them enough that, all right, now you're going to be active on game day as a backup and just see where it goes, because guys are going to get hurt this year, and this is some added depth.
And it's just I think a win-win move by the Bears. You get a chance at having a young guy that was a former first-round draft pick. Situation was not good where he was with the Raiders, and now he gets a new change of scenery. He practiced at right tackle today for the Bears, but he said with the reporters today that he's open to anything. And maybe that's the case with the Bears view him too. Maybe he moves inside, but he just views this as a new opportunity. And he played the first 4 games for the Raiders at the right tackle position before moving to right guard. And yeah, you can look at the stats and all the pressure he gave up, but it's just another opportunity for a very young player that has talent. And Ryan Poles said when asked about Alex Leatherwood today, we believe in player development here. And clearly, we have already seen that in Braxton Jones. Like, there's player development going on there. There's guys that you can already see over the past couple months that have developed into starters. A 5th-round draft pick of Braxton Jones. So now let's see what a first-round, second-round talent in Alex Leatherwood can be in this system. And again, not having to be the starter right away. I think that also helps in itself.
That word development, I think, is going to be huge with this franchise going forward here. I mean, these guys, this franchise has not been that good at developing players as of late. And, they tend to acquire them, and whatever level they're at when they were acquired is kind of what they get until it becomes worse. I mean, there's been some exceptions here. Obviously, Akeem Hicks was a success story. But there's too many other examples of guys that just never really got better. And now you're hoping that this is what's happening with the Bears, with this coaching staff, that there's going to be more of that happening here. And I think we're starting to see it on the offensive line already. I still think we got to see more from wide receivers, but Darnell Mooney certainly seems like he's continuing to get better. And so that is development that matters. We'll see where it goes with Cole Kmet, but it's just, this is such a big part of the NFL that you can't just acquire a player at their max. You have to continue to get better. You have to continue to get these players to get better. And I think that's the one thing that will probably define this new regime over time here, at least I hope, because the early results are that there's been some of that development. Granted, they haven't played a game yet, but we've started to see some of that development.
You know what? One player that kind of represents this, who was in a bad light last season, is now maybe trending slightly upwards. Is like a Kindle Vildor. Like he's in the starting mix to be, your outside corner, and he's there for a reason. Like they brought in Kyler Gordon, but Kindle Vildor is still there. Player development matters. Yes, he did not have a good season last year, getting the first opportunity to start, but maybe that changes slightly. Maybe he won't be a great player for the Bears, but someone that can be competent, like that will go a long way in being, fitting this narrative of player development with this new coaching staff. Maybe Kindle Vildor is a part of that.
All right, I want to tell you about PointsBet real quick. Of course, PointsBet Sportsbook is counting down the days until the football season with a new offer every day until the season kicks off. From now until September 8th, 1 week away, PointsBet Power Hour will unlock a new daily offer from 12 to 1 o'clock Central Time every day. Sign up for PointsBet now using code CHGO to also get risk-free bets up to $2,000. Don't miss out on your chance to get daily access to free bets, boosted odds, and so much more now through September 8th. But that's not it, because if you make a $51 or more first-time deposit, you will receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. Download the PointsBet app today. Use code CHGO to take advantage of this limited time offer. Don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling or referral services.
I have to tell everybody about Athletic Greens. With one scoop of your AG1s, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day off right. This mixture of ingredients helps your immune system, gives you energy, and improves your focus, and that's why I take my Athletic Greens, and you should too. What's awesome about Athletic Greens is that it costs less than a cup of coffee a day. Also, it helps support better sleep quality and recovery, which we all definitely need. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop and a cup of water every day. Super simple. No need for a million different pills or supplements. So look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Bears. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/CHGO Bears to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutrition insurance.
See, I looked down to do a PointsBet read and miss a touchdown. West Virginia scored.
7-0?
It's 7-3 because Pitt got a field goal earlier. And it's hilarious. The way the transfer window works these days, it's like a quarterback carousel. All these guys are in new places. So you have JT Daniels is not just threw a touchdown for West Virginia. Of course, he was at Georgia before. And then where he eventually lost his job to Stetson Bennett. They win the national title. But JT Daniels was also at USC before that, where Keaton Slovis was also at USC. And now he's a quarterback for Pitt. So I think I saw, was it which ones? Someone who was it? Somebody, I saw a tweet a little while ago. It was great, which was because they were showing all the USC highlights of those two quarterbacks when they were at USC, and someone tweeted that, I think it was Jeff Schwartz. I think he said that's the most highlights USC has had shown on a primetime broadcast in years.
Love it.
That's not wrong. All right, we'll keep it to the Bears talk here, but hopefully people are enjoying football tonight. I know I am. All right, let's talk about the wide receiver depth a little bit. Ryan Poles saying that he's hopeful that in the next few days they'll get some more of these guys out there. They'll have more of a full unit, because this has been an interesting couple days, to be honest with you, with even one confusing move. We all expected N'Keal Harry to go on IR, but Tajay Sharp was kept on the original 53-man roster, and then the next day to clear a roster spot for somebody else was put on IR before that 3:00 deadline, which means he has to be out for the year. Now you can't really release somebody right away if they're hurt. So that might have been just a situation where they viewed it as, we got to clear a roster spot. We're still unsure on Tajay Sharp, so we are just got to do this injured reserve thing. So I don't know where that's going to go going forward, but he's not eligible to return as long as he's on IR. I think at some point he has to be waived from IR, which is one way to go about it. But for now, he's not part of the picture. That's the point. N'Keal Harry's out for at least 4 games. He is eligible to return after 4 games. But meanwhile, you got Byron Pringle, who's still not practicing. Velus Jones Jr., like, at what point does it get concerning with Velus Jones Jr.? The guy, it's not good when rookies missed a huge part of the preseason and keep seemingly having issues. I just don't know what's realistic to expect out of Velus Jones Jr., who I know a lot of people are excited about.
Yeah, we don't even know what he's dealing with at this point. Especially, just being somebody that's out and going to have a big role on this team. You would like to see him start practicing. We were kind of having those concerns with Kyler in the beginning, Kyler Gordon, but then he started practicing, and now all those got squished, or you're feeling good about Kyler Gordon. But Velus, like, at one point, Adam, they had 3 wide receivers.
I know.
There were 3 guys that were healthy to practice. So they're like, you need to add players at some point. And, the Bears did that today by getting former Vikings wide receiver, former Iowa wide receiver, Ihmir Smith-Marsette. But I think going back to Velus, he needs to start practicing next Monday to feel comfortable, because at this point we don't know his injury and we haven't seen him in a while. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, he got in that one game in Seattle and showed some ability, especially in the return game. So you hope he's available, but it starts with availability, and I just think that that's concerning at this point. But Poles also said, we're going to be completely relentless when it comes to adding talent. He said that before, and just a little while later, the claim came in on Ihmir Smith-Marsette. This was the other one I wanted. So there's a couple wide receivers, a couple Big Ten guys who have hit the waiver wire last couple days. One was Tyler Johnson, another 5th-round pick. These guys are both 5th-round picks. Tyler Johnson got claimed by the Texans, who are ahead of the Bears in the waiver order. So now they take a swing at Ihmir Smith-Marsette, and they do get him. Now, Smith-Marsette does not have as many catches in the NFL at this point. He only has 5. 2 of them are touchdowns. I want to say one of those came against the Bears. Am I remembering that correctly?
He's got 5 receptions in the NFL. 4 of those came against the Bears. 2 were touchdowns.
Okay.
Man, like, that's his job. He came into the NFL, was like, I'm going to score on the Bears, and essentially he did that.
Yeah. So look, this is a guy I liked coming out of Iowa, just like Tyler Johnson. I had a chance to see him in person, when they would play Northwestern. He makes plays. He's got the ability to go up and get it. Hell, you should give the scouting report. You're the Iowa guy. What do you think about him?
Yeah, just watch. Me watching Iowa games, you're going to see a guy that's going to line up in the slot outside, Also, a guy that's capable of taking a jet sweep. Whenever he's running out of bounds, he's usually looking to do a spin move right before he does to kind of pick up, whether it's just an extra yard. That's just kind of how he's wired. But he's also contributed in the kickoff game. He was in 2019 the Big Ten Special Returner of the Year as a sophomore. So he adds that element to his game as well. So you can add, that's the thing too. If you're gonna make the back end of a roster at the wide receiver position, especially here with the Bears, you got to have special teams value as well. Amir Smith Marset brings that, but 4.42 speed, can stretch the field vertically. Didn't have as many opportunities with the Vikings, but this is a wide receiver room that's looking for opportunities, looking to give players opportunities. Maybe Amir Smith Marset can capitalize on that, but I think it's a good move for the Bears to bring in another guy because we were just talking about they're pretty thin at the position.
Yeah, the other thing too is that the offensive concepts, he might be able to adapt quickly because the Bears are running more of some of that Kubiak stuff that was in Minnesota before their change this year in the offseason. So, he's still gonna have to get up to speed. He hasn't been practicing necessarily this stuff this year right now, but I think that because that's the first thing you got to think about whenever you acquire a player this close to the start of the season. You can't just throw them out there against the 49ers. You got to get them in your building. You got to have them understand the playbook. And it's not easy when you're a wide receiver, especially if you're lining up in multiple spots. So I'm not saying this is going to happen quickly, but I do think that he maybe has a chance to get up to speed quicker than some other guys, depending on where they were coming from.
Andrew Janoko can play a part in getting him up to speed as well. Obviously, being with the Vikings last year as the quarterback's coach, but he knows this offense, obviously. So that's going to be a connection that I think Smith Marset can lean on to, again, grasp this offense to, be in a position to contribute early on. So that's, I think, going to be another connection there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a lot to get to from Ryan Poles. What were your first impressions hearing from Ian Cunningham for the first time? It was a kind of a bummer that they were talking at the same time. I know that I can tell you the Bears media group was not very happy about that, but obviously when you don't hear from the GM for a month or so, most of the questions are going to go to the GM. So Ian Cunningham was just kind of sitting up there at times, but he did answer a couple questions. He had some very strong comments on Kyler Gordon at the end about how much his movements. I mean, we've heard that before from other, his coaches and from Poles himself, but just talking about his balance and his ability to move in tight spaces, both inside and outside in the defense. And he pretty much said, we think he's going to be a really good player.
Yeah, just kind of, I listened to him for like the first time in person there. I kind of noticed he kept looking over at Ryan, like maybe they're gonna ask me a question at some point, and eventually, we did, but it was nice to kind of see him towards the end of the press conference. Kind of, he added in that extra comment about the Kyler Gordon, like let me add this about him. So, and then obviously talking about Teven Jenkins and being a former offensive lineman, you could speak to that as well. So it was nice to hear from him. I wish like all of us in the media could have gotten him exclusively to kind of get his voice a little bit more heard in one of these press conferences. But that when he did speak, I thought there was good stuff there. But next time, if there's a next time, get him one-on-one or get him exclusively.
So look, if you're thinking like us, hey, now we get a breather. Okay, it's Labor Day weekend. The teams give the players a break. We're off for a few days. Consume some college football. Not Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham. Although they're going to be consuming plenty of college football, but they're going to be doing it for work. They are on a 3-game tour this weekend, and I have a little bit of extra insight. They were originally talking about it being a 5 games in 5-day tour. So they shortened it down to 3, but originally they were thinking about going to Penn State, Purdue tonight. And that ended up not happening. And then who does Clemson play Monday? Clemson plays Monday. They were thinking about tacking that one on too, but they're not going to. So it'll start tomorrow night. TCU, Colorado, which I believe is actually getting played at Mile High Stadium in Denver, which is a bummer because I think every game should be played at Boulder. Literally every college football game should be played at Boulder. Just play all of them there. It's such a cool place. So they'll be there tomorrow night for that game. And then Saturday, they're going to fly all the way over to Georgia, Oregon and Georgia playing. That's a great game Saturday. And then Sunday, Florida State, LSU.
Wow.
Which I think is in New Orleans.
Yep, that's at LSU. And they said they were thinking about doing Clemson at Georgia Tech, which would have been Monday.
Yeah, back September in Atlanta.
5th. And that's quite the lifestyle there to be jumping from game to game, different, times and doing that. But 5. That was crazy that they even had that idea in the first place.
I mean, I plan on watching all those games.
Well,
but
you need
nice without all the travel.
Yeah.
But hey, they're doing this for you, Bears fans. This is the college scouting season is officially underway, and when he says they're going to be completely relentless in adding more and more talent, that includes diving into the draft already.
And we are just in the first day of September.
Yep. But now he finally has his staff together because remember, he comes in January. He's got the old Bears staff. He brings in Ian Cunningham. They shuffle some things around, but really they're all working together to come up with this draft class that so far has been relatively impressive. Now, after all the changes he made after the draft, now they're jumping into it. And they'll have scouts at plenty of other games, by the way. Trust me. This is just the Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham tour over the weekend. Sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, my wife would never go for it, but
oh no, yeah. My girlfriend would be like, so we're gonna hang out when? I'm like, I don't even know if that was, what we were doing. But yeah, it does sound like fun for them.
All right. Plenty of other news to get to as well. Big stadium news. Well, I don't know how big it's news that it's news with the stadium. It just shows you that not that you needed to be reminded, but it is another reminder that they are very, very serious about this move to Arlington Heights. So came out today, an official announcement that the Bears are going to be holding an informational community meeting to discuss the potential purchase and possible development of Arlington Park. This is next Thursday night at Hersey High School. I think that's where Jeff Joniak went.
Oh,
I think I might be wrong. I think that's where it went. 7 to 9 p.m. next Thursday. It says, quote, the meeting will include opening remarks from team leadership and conceptual plans for a transit-oriented mixed-use entertainment district anchored by a stadium that would be one of the largest development projects in Illinois state history. So it sounds like we're in the Mayor Lightfoot, renderings that have, well, not renderings of her, but the ones of the stadium down at Soldier Field that they've put out, the mayor's office have. They just seem like pie in the sky. This is, I think by next Thursday, this time Thursday next week, we will be getting an actual possible rendering of what this stadium could look like in Arlington Heights, which is very exciting.
It is, Adam. I think even, for a lot of Bears fans that are in favor of this move, like, what's it going to look like? What do you envision for this new stadium? And I think there's also some skepticism, right? Like, this is the Bears, though. Are they gonna screw this up in a way where you have an opportunity to have a new stadium, a state-of-the-art facility, and can make a environment that you want Bears fans to be a part of, that will love being there? I think there could also be some skepticism, like, can they get this right? But next week, we can get a glimpse of what the vision is. And you know what, Adam? Like, September 8th, I'm like, oh, that's a day that's my moving day. I'm moving into Arlington Heights. I'm like, oh, the Bears just topped it, so it doesn't even matter. I'm moving in that day in Arlington Heights, but so are the Bears and their vision of what the new stadium can look like.
So are you holding an informational meeting with the community on your move to Arlington Heights?
I think, if that's what everyone's doing these days, apparently on the 8th of September. So I guess if you want to tune into that, it'll be like just me and my girlfriend there. So you can tune in.
Yeah, I'll come. I'll come for you. Oh man, taunting penalty, not good.
Damn,
By Pitt here.
can't do that.
Nice play in the end zone, and he just
Eberflus would not like that. Eberflus would not like that. I'll tell you that.
Oh man, it was a nice play too. It looked like. I am not looking forward to having to analyze taunting penalties.
Oh, that's
just so bad, and the NFL still triple downing on them. Some other details came out from the Chicago Tribune on this Arlington Heights meeting. They reported that any development would have to be approved by village officials, of course. By the way, this is not like this is more like an informal community meeting. It's not like the ones that you actually have to have, like legally, like the town halls or whatever, before something like this could go forward. And it would obviously still have to be approved by village officials. But the Arlington Heights mayor is welcoming this and said they're increasing the speed of the project as we move forward toward making this a reality. This is an opportunity to get initial feedback from the community. So it's a very important and exciting part of the process. I like it.
It's exciting. I'm really curious to see exactly what the initial vision for these designs are and how they are going to change the landscape that's all around there. Because just looking for apartments down in that area, and I'm like, man, it's just such a big space. Such a big space. What's the vision there? So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they got.
They're not going to be moving there for like 6 years, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're like scouting out property. You're like, it's like a walk to the stadium.
Yeah, I'm gonna get ahead of the game. That's what
nice.
But
yeah, make sure you get some tailgate, some tailgate areas or something.
Yep, I'll be scouting out the area. Just check it out.
Speaking of tailgates, should start teasing this a little bit, but stay tuned for some CHGO tailgates before Bears games. Okay, we'll have more information, I think, next week on that. But very excited about it. It's going to be awesome for the CHGO community.
Oh, yeah. I'll be at the games, but I'm going to see if I can get there early enough to stop by, maybe for like a beer or a brat, and then just go up to the stadium and have you guys have fun. But we have a lot of cool things planned for this Bears season for the rest of the year and everything at CHGO. So you're definitely going to want to tune in and, just check it all out.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you tell us about FOCO?
Yeah, Chicago, you already got the best coverage for your favorite teams, so get fitted out in the best sports gear around. FOCO, again, that's FOCO, has you covered from Soldier Field to the front room, north or south side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get decked out like DeMar, the guy that shoots the basketball for the Bulls. He's pretty good. With apparel from the leader in sports merch and collectibles, FOCO. Looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life? FOCO's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. Check out FOCO.com or click the link below in the description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
I love how the tailgate talk just immediately resulted in Braggs in the YouTube comments just talking shit about how he's going to smoke people in bags. I like it.
Ooh.
Start it up now.
I'll definitely play a game of bags before going up to the press box. I like to think I'm pretty good, but Braggs apparently is going to smoke people.
By the way, that was Nick's version of talking shit. The guy is too nice to come back too strong, so he just very politely is like, "Oh, I'm up for that. I think I'm pretty good. I'll take you."
I'm humble,
Yeah, no, you are.
So I'll let my play speak for itself.
Hey, you guys be you, right? You talk shit the way you want to. Braggs is going to do it the way. But now we need to have a battle. We need to have this thing settled, I think, next Sunday morning before the Bears game. All right. This is the part of the show where we will take any questions. So, Joey, if there's any questions from the audience here throughout the show, and what is this Dylan C swag people are talking about?
Is it just the mustache? Like what? Where is?
Oh,
I
I get
mean,
it. Yep. I was like trying to look in your background. Like, am I missing a
some.
Dylan Cease thing? It's the mustache. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You
What do we
snuck
got
that
here,
back on
Adam?
me. Are you going to keep it longer this time?
Uh, I'm thinking after. So I'm going to be in Wisconsin this weekend for the game. Wisconsin, Illinois State. But I'm thinking after the weekend, the mustache is also going. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a 1 week thing. It's a 1 week
Okay.
thing with the stash, and then disappears for another random week.
Just let the record show. Where's he going on his off weekend? He's not going to Iowa City. He's going to Madison. Just let the record show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to experience it once. I haven't been there. I'm looking forward to it. Seeing another Big Ten town. It should be a lot of fun.
Well, I know they've done a lot of work in the South End zone. I'm excited to see what it looks like. So you're gonna have to report back to me on that. All right. Dave asks, who has a better year, Juju Smith-Schuster or Darnell Mooney?
I'm going with Darnell Mooney. Like I know what Darnell Mooney's been doing in training camp, and even though there's still questions with this Bears offense, but I know who Darnell Mooney is. I know what he's like. I know his work, his mindset, how he works. Going with Darnell Mooney, Adam.
This is an interesting question because I think Darnell Mooney's he's the receiver I would prefer, but you are talking about Juju being in that Chiefs offense. So, and they have production that they need to fill.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So I think it'll be a big year for Juju Smith-Schuster. But someone's got to get the targets for the Bears. So I'm going Darnell Mooney. That's a good way to tease in the tomorrow show, by the way. We're going to do a sort of a fantasy football special for you. We're going to break down more of the projections for Bears fantasy football options. There are a few, believe it or not, on this offense. And we're also going to revisit our win totals now that we know what the roster looks like, now that we know who's going to be lining up and starting. And so it'd be kind of a season preview. Because when we come back next week, it's going to be 49ers Bears. Time to, we're in a full game week mode then.
It's game week. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. On that note about Darnell Mooney, I heard a great stat last night on one of the Ringer fantasy football shows. Mooney was good for 26% target share last year, which was sixth best in the NFL, and that was with Allen Robinson. So,
yeah,
poised for at least a lot of targets.
Yeah, and there'll be some adjustment because he'll be getting more and more of the coverage, and they got to find somebody else to balance that out. I think Cole Kmet and Ryan Griffin being options off, as tight ends will help with that. But yeah, you have to think, man, that's a huge target share already. I didn't know that. That is a great stat, Joey.
Yeah, for sure.
What do we got here? Andy asked, where is Adam's quarterback meter after training camp? So I addressed that in my Bears Things newsletter that went out. I know I challenged him to, and we talked about this on the show yesterday too. I challenged Justin Fields to wow me. He didn't consistently wow me, but when it was all said and done, like that game in Cleveland was exactly what you wanted. That was the wow game. And that's all I was asking. I understand it's the preseason. I understand it's vanilla coverage at times and all this. Guess what? The Kansas City Chiefs came out in 0 on the first snap of that first preseason game. They were in coverage 0. All right. So it wasn't like it was just vanilla the entire time. And I think that the overall body of work was good. The steady improvement throughout camp was impressive. The improved footwork was impressive. So I'm very bullish on Justin Fields' season as long as he can stay healthy, which I think is sort of the concern. And a lot of that, yeah, we talk about the offensive line, but Justin also has to show he can stay healthy. He still takes too many hits. Some of them are definitely on his own. And he didn't necessarily hold up well last year. He had multiple injuries, missed time with COVID at the end. Like, he needs to prove that he can play 17 games. Like right now, as it stands, like if you ask me, are there going to be a couple games where Trevor Siemian's going to play? I think it's just sort of the odds are in favor of, yeah, that's probably going to happen at some point. But you hope he can stay healthy and put it together. And if he does, I think think he can have a big year.
Yeah, and the more he knows this offense, Adam, knowing where to put the football and to get the ball out quickly, that helps his longevity too. So where he's not hanging on to the football too long. So yeah, as the season goes on, hopefully he gets even more comfortable with the system. But you got to see how that offensive line is meshing. But the hope is that he does put a healthy season out there, and then we can really see what he's capable of in this offense.
All right, what else we got, Joey? Anything else? Alfredo says, imagine if Leatherwood works out. You got Jenkins, Borum, Jones. Could be a really young line. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The odds probably are that not all of them work out, but certainly if they did, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, those are young players. All those guys
Optimism.
All those guys are either in their first or second year in the league. And it's possible that Leatherwood is somebody that they just bring along slowly this year. Maybe he's a backup. Maybe he makes some spot starts when guys go down. And then maybe if he looks good and they like him, you make a move somewhere else to create a starting spot for him next year. Or maybe that happens sooner rather than later. But let's slow down a little bit on Leatherwood. He's got a lot to prove. He got rushed by the Raiders. Really did not look good at two different positions. I think he's still probably adapting to being a pro.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Alabama, had everything that could possibly be given to him in Alabama, right? Then he gets drafted in the first round. There's probably some growing up there, like with any rookie that needs to happen. And but if that does happen, I still think he has a lot of potential to work out.
Yeah, if it happens, Adam, it's a testament not only to the players, but to that coaching staff, like we talked about earlier, and their ability to develop those individuals. Because there's obviously talent. They're all in the NFL for a reason, but it does go back to that coaching staff, what they're teaching them, and how the players themselves are taking this information. But if that pans out, you have a young line, like Alfredo was saying, and there's hope that they can be a part of this foundational core moving forward. But you got to see how it all works out in the end there.
Corey says, do you think Deech might switch to a tight end? He's 6'2", 32 arms, not really the build this regime covets. I think it might be the reason he came here instead of the Dolphins.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's still way too early to know really much about him at this point.
Yeah.
What is Brack saying?
Brack says Bears are going 4-2 or 5-1 before the Patriots, right? Right?
Hey, if Greg takes more Malort shots, he's gonna feel more optimistic about this team, and the win total is gonna keep going up. But I don't know, Greg, maybe.
Let's see if I can find this on the fly, because I was thinking about this the other day and forgot to look it up. But let's see. I'm pretty sure that Matt Nagy got a win against the Packers in his first year. It wasn't the first game, but he got him in the second game.
Mm-hmm.
2015 was the year the Bears went to Green Bay and got that win. So that was John Fox's first year. 2013, Bears beat the Packers at Lambeau Field. Yep. That was Mark Trestman's first year. See where I'm going with this? And then what was Lovie Smith's first year? I always forget. Is that 02? No, or was that 2? No, that was 04. And they beat the Packers.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying that it seems like when the Bears have a new coach,
in that first year,
they beat the Packers. Let's see, 1999. Dick Duran's first year. Dick Duran's first year. Bears won at Lambeau Field. Bears beat the Packers.
There's something to this.
1994. Sorry, Wani.
Born that year.
They didn't get it done. They basically didn't get it done at all in the Wani years.
It happened so when
I think they lost every single game. Did Wanstead never beat the Packers?
Oh God, that's the one stat as a Bears coach you do not want to have right there. Yikes. That is the one stat.
That is crazy. I think, let me see here. 90.
Okay, I have
oh, no, he
saying
was
to
there in
dress up as Dylan
93.
Cease. Oh, okay.
I had the year wrong. They did beat the Packers that year in 93. That was his only win.
Mark it down.
That was the only win. Yes.
Wow. Does this change our whole I think we both had him at 8 and 9, Adam.
I mean, I think you got to mark. I think you just got to lock a win in over the Packers. It's the only thing that makes sense here.
Yeah.
So let's go back to 80. Let's go back to 82 then. Why am I not seeing games in 82?
Doesn't exist. All right. This guy wants me to dress up as Luigi from Super Mario Bros. I had a Dylan Cease costume. October's going to be a big month for me, apparently. This mustache. Cool.
It's just September 1st, guys, okay? Let's not jump to October yet. I'm not quite ready for that. Let's slow it down a little bit. All right. Appreciate everyone tuning in for the evening show tonight. A lot of the same familiar faces are here. Appreciate it. We're going to be back tomorrow, noon, with a special show. We're going to talk a little fantasy football as it pertains to the Bears. We're going to talk about the win totals, some prop bets for the season. I think we're going to have like a little bit of a bankroll that we could figure out where we want to put that money through PointsBet on the Bears, what makes sense. So kind of a Bears preview for fantasy gambling and all that. Should be a fun episode as we head into Labor Day weekend. Please check out the Hogan Johns episode with Ryan Poles. It's good stuff. It's not terribly long, but 20 minutes with the GM today over at Halas Hall. Please check that out. I think you'll appreciate it. Check out all of our coverage. Nick has plenty right now at allchgo.com. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hogue, at Nicholas Moriano, at CHGO_Bears. And hit that like button. Just do it.
Come on.
Hit it right now. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon.